Okay, so let's start here by looking at the guidelines for completing the reading assignments in this course and also the guidelines for your reading presentation assignments in this course. Let's start with the guidelines for completing reading assignments. I don't have these here to insult your intelligence. I know you're all college students and adults, and you know how to read, especially read textbooks. But the textbook for this course is not truly a textbook, it's a reader, which you may have experienced before in other courses, but probably not as often as textbooks. So as a reader, as I say here, excuse me, that was my phone, a reader is not like most other textbooks, which are more similar to encyclopedias. A reader is an anthology or collection of essays and articles or excerpts of essays and articles. Many of the readings in the assigned textbook for this course, in the reader for this course, are excerpts of longer essays and articles. And each reading, each essay or article is by a different author. So you don't have the same writing style throughout the reader. And that's probably one of the things that makes reading a reader more difficult than reading a traditional textbook is every reading is a little bit different in the language, in the tone, in the vocabulary used. And so you have to recognize that a short reading may actually be more difficult to get through than a long reading simply because of the way it was written by different authors. So the editors of a reader organize all the different essays and articles into chapters by theme, and they write introductions to these chapters, and that's the case in this textbook, this reader as well. Each essay or article, however, is written and organized very differently, as I explained just now, because each is by a different author. So you will find some essays or articles very interesting and easy to read and understand, but you will find others more difficult to get through. So don't be fooled by the page length of each reading. Devote about the same amount of time for each reading, no matter the page length, because what matters here more is the author and the writing style more than the page length. You will also not have the aids of photographs, diagrams, bold-faced words, glossaries, or sidebars, marginal information, all of which usually appear in textbooks, but they don't appear here. In fact, the discussion questions were added by the editors. They weren't by the authors themselves at the ends of each chapter. But do not despair, I say, because first of all, the essay and article excerpts in this particular reader are short, averaging around 10 pages each. As I said, page length doesn't matter, but do note that the readings in this book are shorter than most textbook chapters, so it will take you maybe about the same amount of time to read 2 chapters in this book as it would 2 chapters in a regular textbook. So even though the readings are more difficult, they're shorter, so it kind of balances out in terms of time versus a regular textbook. So the key points and key concepts and key words, we're not there yet, sorry. So I'm right here. If you organize your time, as I recommended before, so that you read 1 essay or article a day, you should be able to finish the reading assignments every week. Actually, you'll probably need to read 2 essays or articles a day to finish the reading assignments by Wednesday night or Thursday night at the latest of each week, according to the schedule I recommended in the earlier video when I was going through the syllabus. Secondly, you do not need to pay attention to the detailed information in each article. Some of these articles and essays get really detailed with percentages and specific terms and numbers. That's not important here. Instead, you need to pay attention to the following four items. You may even want to highlight or take notes on these following four items in each and every reading, because that will really help you with the reading presentation assignments. So what you want to note are the main argument or thesis of each essay, and that's usually in the first few introductory paragraphs and also the last paragraph or two. So look for a thesis statement or thesis statements. It could be 2 or 3 sentences. You should also look for number 2, the key points, key concepts, and key words that the authors use to support the main argument or thesis of each essay. Key points are usually in the topic sentence of each paragraph, and then the rest of the paragraph will elaborate on that key point. And the topic sentence is usually the first or last sentence in the paragraph. Key concepts and keywords are usually italicized or in quotes, even in a reader like this one, but not always. And you will usually have a total of about 5 to 10 key points depending on the length of the reading. So 5 to 10 key points, concepts, or words for each essay. Number 3, the author's recommendations or suggestions for the future, usually found in the concluding paragraphs. Really make note of these, because this will help you with your final presentation for this course, in which you have to anticipate a future trend in globalization, where you think globalization is going to go with regard to a particular issue in globalization. So noting down the author's recommendations or suggestions for the future in every reading will really help you when it comes to that final presentation. Also, don't forget to note any statements you found particularly interesting or confusing. Besides being good to mention these statements in your reading presentations, that's part of why I have you do these, so it gives you a way to learn from others, learn from your classmates, learn from me about anything you found particularly interesting or confusing in a reading. But it also allows you to note them down for later to email me or your classmates about, to figure out when you're writing the final presentation or paper. Maybe a later reading helps explain something that you found interesting or confusing in a previous reading. So do make note of that too. Don't feel like you have to understand absolutely everything a reading says when you're done with it. There will always be things for all of us, myself included, that we don't quite get when we're done with the reading. And that's okay. Just be sure to make note of that and try to learn from what you didn't understand the first time. So if you take notes on each essay or article and organize them around these 4 components listed above, and these 4 components are found in any well-written essay, even in a regular textbook chapter, you will be well prepared to discuss the weekly readings. You will also be well prepared for your reading presentations. Remember, you do 2 of them, and also viewing and commenting on your classmates' reading presentations, as they all should center around these 4 components. Lastly, you will have a great set of notes to draw from for your final presentation and final paper for the course, as I mentioned. So remember, don't despair. Some of these articles and essays are not easy to understand right away. You will have to read some statements 2 or 3 times and jot them down in your weekly reading notes before they begin to make sense, and that's okay. Your instructor and classmates are there to help you make sense of them. You are not alone. We are all learning together and helping each other to succeed. As I say in my About My Instructor bio, there ain't nothing we can't fix together. So that's why I have you do the reading presentations, so that you can present your interpretation of the reading and get others' comments on it to learn from. So happy reading. And now let's look at your guidelines or instructions for your individual reading presentations. So remember that in this course, you will have to present 2 of the readings, not 2 of the chapters, but 2 of the readings assigned for weeks 2 through 6 to the class, although never in the same week. So you may choose to present 1 reading from week 3 and another reading from week 5, or 1 reading from week 2 and another reading from week 6. However you want to do it, that's up to you. What I would recommend is that get them done early. Don't wait till weeks 5 and 6, because then you want to be thinking about your final presentation and final paper. Try to get both of your presentations done by week 5 at the latest, ideally by week 4. Okay? And remember that you have to read ahead for your reading presentation. So if you sign up for a week 4 reading presentation, you have to do that reading and post your presentation to the week 4 discussion board by midnight Sunday of week 3. And that way the rest of the students can look at your reading presentation while they're doing that assigned reading for week 4. Okay? I know that's kind of confusing. If you have any questions on it, don't hesitate to email me. I'm going to be sending out a couple of announcement emails reminding you about signing up for a reading presentation the week before the reading is assigned. Okay. Now, these 2 presentations make up all of your participation grade in this online course. The basic purpose of these presentations is to demonstrate that you are keeping up with the reading assignments and are basically understanding them. I don't tend to like quizzes. I try not to assign a lot of them. I think that doing presentations and papers demonstrates understanding much better than... just a second, why am I not recording? Okay, sorry about that. I think I fixed that. All kinds of technology doubts for me, but we should be good to go now. And as I was explaining, I tend not to like the online quizzes on Blackboard in courses, so I have students do presentations or papers instead. So that's why I have you do 2 presentations, to show me that you're keeping up with the readings, that you're basically understanding the readings, and to give you an opportunity to learn from each other, to learn from each other's presentations as well as your comments on each other's presentations. So your presentation does not have to be long because the readings are not very long, and the presentation format is up to you. You can create PowerPoint slides or write a short summary or outline of the reading. It doesn't have to be set up like a formal paper. You don't necessarily have to write in complete sentences, as long as it all makes sense. So it's your choice. If you like PowerPoint, you could use PowerPoint. If you don't have PowerPoint or you don't like making PowerPoint slides, you can write a short summary or you can write an outline of the chapter. I have examples of each for 3 of the week 1 readings on the week 1 discussion board, and I will show those to you in this or a later video, and that will give you an idea of how to write these and set them up. Your presentations must include 4 things. It must be approximately 10 PowerPoint slides. A little less or a little more is fine because each reading is of a different length, so you might not quite reach 10 or you might be a little over 10. I think my example on the week 1 discussion board is 11, and that's fine, just around 10. Or 2 to 3 written pages summarizing the chapter. Again, if it's right at 2 or it's a little over 3, that's fine. Just make sure it's 12-point font and double spaced. And you want to, same thing for an outline. If you outline the chapter, 2 to 3 pages, 12-point font, double-spaced. You can see my example on the week 1 discussion board, and you want to submit it as an attachment to a new thread in the following week's discussion board forum. So as I said, if you sign up to present a week 5 reading, you will want to post your PowerPoint slides, summary, or outline on that week 5 reading to the week 5 discussion board by midnight Sunday of week 4. You'll want to make sure that your presentation is written entirely in your own words. Do not read or copy word for word from the book. That's plagiarism. Paraphrase. Be creative. Writing it in your own words shows that you really understand the material. Make sure that your presentation does not include any more than one online video that is no more than 5 to 6 minutes in length. In other words, I don't want most of your presentation to be an online video. That doesn't show me your own work. You don't have to include any online video. In fact, I didn't in my example presentations on the week 1 discussion board, but if you choose to include an online video, make sure it's short. And the final thing you have to do, where you can't necessarily just draw from the reading itself, is you have to apply what you read to a recent or current event. So make sure you relate one of the major concepts from the chapter, or really the reading, to a recent occurrence. This does not have to be long or complicated, so after presenting a key point or key concept from the chapter, you could simply mention a recent or current event as a specific example of the point or concept you just mentioned. And you can see an example of that in my sample week 1 reading presentations on the week 1 discussion board. I'll show you how to do that. And that shows me that you understand the concepts and you can apply them to what's going on in the world today. It's also strongly recommended that your presentation focus on the same 4 components that your weekly reading notes focus on. We just went over those guidelines for completing the readings, and you'll notice that those 4 guidelines correspond very nicely to the 4 requirements for your reading presentations. So be sure to look for those 4 things in every reading you do and highlight them or take notes on them, because that will really help you when you're doing your reading presentations and also your final presentation and paper for this course. Okay, I'm going to hold off on presenting the rubrics until the next video. And so I will end this video here. Thank you.